A long time ago, in a town called Bethlehem, there lived a cheese-eating, mystery-solving mouse.
Where is all that racket coming from?
Grumbled Mouse. Then he spotted new noisy neighbours. Some had sticks and looked quite hairy, some had gifts and looked quite clever, and there was a mum and a dad and a noisy human baby.
Ouch! I definitely didn't agree to such a noisy neighbour. Yikes!
Squeaked Mouse. Sorry I startled you, little rat. I'm Donkey.
I am not a rat. I am a cheese-eating, mystery-solving mouse.
Oh, I do beg your pardon, said Donkey.
Well, Donkey, there's a mystery to solve. Who are my new neighbours? And who is the noisy one that everyone is staring at?
Donkey told Mouse about his adventure with Mary and Joseph, how they clipped and clopped from Nazareth to Bethlehem.
On the way, they said Manuel will be born.
Manuel? It's a strange name for a baby,
thought Mouse. Donkey said that upstairs was full, and that's why baby was born downstairs and placed in the feeding trough. And that's when the ones with sticks and the ones with gifts came to visit.
But why? Do they think the baby's special?
I don't know, said Donkey.
But sheep will. Sheep knows everything there is to know about the ones with sticks, the shepherds.
With a clip and a clop, they trekked up a hill and met a grass-munching sheep.
Hello, sheep. What can you tell us about the shepherds?
Basically, it all started the other night, said the sheep. An angel shone in the sky, and the ones with sticks went all wobbly with shock. The angel told us, no need to get all wobbly. Jump for joy, because a baby has been born who will rescue God's people. Interesting. Loads more angels appeared in the sky, and the shepherds went to find the baby.
But what about the ones with gifts, sheep?
I don't know, said Sheep. But Camel will. If we leave now, we can still catch her.
Hello, Camel. I believe wise men met my rather noisy neighbour. Do you know why?
Well, we followed a star a really long way just to meet the baby one. It stopped outside your house, and the wise men gave...
Cheese?
Interrupted Mouse. Don't be silly. Gold, frankincense and myrrh. 3 gifts fit for a king.
Aha! That must mean baby is a king. But I didn't spot a crown on his head.
Well, the wise men said that someone special from Bethlehem will take charge of God's people. Back at Mouse's house, Mary and Joseph held the now not-so-noisy neighbour.
Camel says baby is king, sheep says baby is rescuer, and donkey says baby is Manuel.
Wait,
said Donkey.
On the journey, Mary and Joseph didn't say Manuel, they said Emmanuel. It means God is with us.
their soon-to-be-born baby boy was somehow going to be God too.
Wow, you really are something special. You're rescuer, king, and Emmanuel. God is with us. Now, if only I could solve the mystery of your name.
Look, Joseph, our little Jesus has got another visitor, said Mary.
Jesus! Oh, I'm so glad I met you. I don't have a gift fit for a king, but what I do have, I want to give you.
You're a kind mouse, said Donkey.
Today, I'm the mouse who shared a room with Jesus, the greatest one who ever lived, the rescuer, the king, and Emmanuel. God is with us.
Isn't it funny how the donkey has become so iconic in nativity plays and in the whole of the celebration of Jesus' birth? And yet, when you look at the gospel narratives, there's no sign of a donkey to be seen anywhere. It struck us as rather interesting that when we were watching our grandchildren in their school nativity play, we had to watch it online, of course, in these days, there were wonderful introductions of the protagonists. And so we had, hello, I'm Mary. Hello, I'm Joseph. And hello, I'm the donkey. We just take it for granted. There it is. And why not? Because there is, after all, a talking donkey in the Old Testament. Just ask Balaam. And yet, we really have to go to the other end of Jesus' life before we come across a donkey of any note. There he is, rolling up to Jerusalem to be crowned in a rather peculiar kind of crowning as King of the Jews, Saviour of the world, on a borrowed donkey, no less. A theme that connects both the birth of Jesus and that entry into Jerusalem in Matthew's Gospel certainly is humility. Jesus is born in a human form and placed into a borrowed manger. He takes a borrowed donkey to ride into Jerusalem, and there, in a sense, takes upon himself a borrowed cross before being buried in a borrowed tomb. And yet none of this seems to overly bother him. Matthew picks up the point that this was all part of what was expected, if we had eyes of faith to see it at the time, of the Messiah himself, the servant, indeed the suffering servant, referred to in Isaiah. In the prophetic tradition, it says, he took his place to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet, saying, tell the daughter of Zion, behold, your king is coming to you, humble and mounted on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. Now, the prophet in Matthew's mind at that stage is Zechariah. And the second half of the book of Zechariah is just so crammed full of images to bedazzle us that we hardly know what to be doing with any of it at all. But certain things do stand out. The underlying theme of the passage is the establishment of God's kingdom, the rescue of Israel from oppression and from exile, and the judgment of both the nations and the leadership of Israel. These events will focus on Jerusalem, of course, and the temple, and not surprisingly, the royal house of David will play a key role. The king riding into Jerusalem, humble and on a donkey. All Israel has, of course, been waiting donkey's years for this to happen. There had been many false dawns, so the image of someone riding on a donkey over the Mount of Olives to the Temple Mount spoke far more powerfully than words could ever have done of the royal plain. It was as if the clocks had been turned back 200 years to the return of that old folk hero Judas Maccabeus, celebrated at this time of the year at Hanukkah, indeed as was then, there to establish the royal dynasty. And maybe by turning the clock back 200 years, it would be possible to have another 100-year dynasty of that kind. Or, since we're about turning the clock back, why not turn it back 1,000 years to the greatest of all the kings, to David, and that everlasting kingdom that has been promised him? Zechariah's words would have left those leaders in Jerusalem rather understandably jittery. After all, in that same passage, we're told, "My anger is hot against the shepherds, and I will punish the leaders," that is, of Israel, "for the Lord of hosts cares for his flock." An old Christmas favourite in our house was The Magnificent Seven, with Charles Bronson and Steve McQueen and Yul Brynner leading up the desperados who are going to ride into town and save the villagers from the bad guys. We like our heroes riding in on horses. Instead, what we get with Jesus is a king riding in on a donkey, with no guns blazing, with no threats, with no arguments. As rescue plans go, it was a mildly ridiculous plan. But behind all the sniggers, that's actually how Jesus announces, "I am your Saviour. I am your Lord. I am your King."
Beyond the hills of Bethlehem, the angel choir sings, a joyful chorus fills the skies, a Savior in a manger. The promise of a coming King, the hope of all the earth, to dwell within our broken world, the Savior in a manger. Rejoice, the Lord has come. Rejoice, the promised Son. Rejoice, the saving one has come to pay our ransom, the Savior in a manger. A treasure for the longing soul, His peace within our hearts. We sing the glory of the Son, a Savior in a manger. Rejoice, the Lord has come. Rejoice, the promised Son. Rejoice, the saving One has come to pay our ransom. The Savior in a manger.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Say Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas, family and friends. Church. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy Christmas, everyone.
Well, thank you for taking the time to watch our little Christmas Eve meditation. We wish you God's blessing this evening, and wherever you are and whoever you're with tomorrow, have a really happy Christmas. And from these two,
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas!
Happy